Hello, everybody. Welcome to Toys. And we have our friend, I'm going to say it right, Emil. Is that right?
That works excellent. You want me to say that it's like Swedish pronunciation, but it's very close.
You say it. You say it. You say your name.
Emil.
Emil.
Yeah, and that doesn't
better
sound
or worse
cool.
than before.
Can you go with the American version instead? Just be like
Emil.
Most people actually say Emil in when I'm over there. They say
Yeah,
Emil.
Yeah. I know the part is better than the E part. Emil. Well, for those of you who do not know, Emil. He lives in Sweden. He is Swedish, and he is a very prolific member of the Legions and toy community at large. And this is actually a pre-recorded stream. Hopefully you're watching it live. But I will be on my way back from North Carolina from IshCon while this is airing. So maybe I'll jump in the chat. But we wanted to make sure there was an episode, and plus because of time zone things, in order for Emil to be on with us at the normal time, he would have to stay up quite late. And I know you do that sometimes.
I do that.
Dreams.
Yeah. This is
so we're pre-recording this. So let's first talk about things we have going on. The next time that we will see each other in person, which will be the same as last year, is Legions Con, which is in New Jersey in November. I actually learned because as we're recording this a couple days before it's aired, a couple weeks before it's aired, there's been a number of things related to politics. We're not going to get into politics on this, but it made me realize that Tuesday of Legions Con is election day here in the United States. So that will be an interesting. It's the Tuesday before Legion. And it made me think, I wonder why Legions Con is that week. But the last presidential election would have been 2020 when there wasn't an in-person Legions Con. So this will be the first time that's happened where there's a presidential election happening the same time as Legions Con. So that Tuesday, it'll be an interesting time potentially in our country.
I am doing my best to follow the politics in the US, just because I'm in general interested, and I just hope that whoever wins the election, that won't be the issue at Legions Con. Let's do whoever wins. Let's do the best that the country can do. Right?
Yes. I hope. I've said this in the past. When we go to sporting events, you go to a sporting event, which is a fandom, and Legions are a fandom of ours, right? We go to sporting events. There's not a lot of discussions of politics or who this or who that. You're just cheering for your team and excited if things go good. So hopefully the same can be said at Legions Con, regardless of whatever happens. So you come to Legions Con, but you actually, at least last year, and I know some other years, you come in earlier into America. So are you doing the same thing where you go into Michigan, I think, is what you do?
Same tradition. This will be the third. This will be the fourth year in a row that I'm going to Michigan first.
Yeah. So you connect in New Jersey like 20 minutes from Legions Con, and then you keep going to Michigan is what you do.
It has been different. I think this year we're going to maybe there or maybe Chicago. But we are definitely going all the way to Grand Rapids, being picked up there to stay in Muskegon for a couple of days, and before taking a road trip.
Yeah, then you drive 12 hours or 15 hours.
Something like that,
Yeah, I thought it was fascinating when you guys arrived last year. You're talking about the drive. I'm like, I don't know how you drove here from Sweden, but that would be quite a drive. Like, no, we flew to Michigan and then we drove over. I'm like, oh,
yeah, of course.
So you meet up with Steve and the guys over there in Michigan, Nate, I think, some of them folks, and you ride over in a carpool together. Is what it sounds like.
Yeah, me and Tomas, we are sleeping with. Sleeping at Stephen Bouchardi's house. We're staying there for the duration of our time in Michigan, and then we go on a road trip and meeting a lot of people. We already have some plans for this time.
That's good. And then, of course, you exhibit and sell and vend at Legions Con, and is this your fourth year also having a setup?
It will, yeah. Fourth year.
So, if
Yeah.
for those of you who aren't familiar with Emil's work, I will speak of him. I know he'll be bashful about this, but I think he is probably the most prolific and creative customizer that we have in the community. And one of the things that I think is most unique is, while we have amazing artists throughout our community, there's no doubt about that. And everybody kind of has their strengths and the things they focus on. What I think is so unique about you is you want really challenging projects, and you always challenge yourself to use as much of the unique pieces of the original pieces as possible. So some of the things that I know you've worked on, it would be much easier to just say, okay, I can take this 3D printed piece and it works. But you try to create it from something that is an original Four Horsemen piece, which I think must make that job much more challenging, but then makes the finished product, in my opinion, so much more rewarding for both people. I enjoy the process, seeing you work on it, as well as the finished product in my hand.
I love that part of it. Like these parts, everyone has these parts. I mean, you could go into ZBrush on the computer. You could sculpt each single piece and then have them look exactly like they're supposed to be. Print them, get them out, and then you have the figure, and that's fine. I'm not saying that's any wrong in that whatsoever. But that's not how I prefer to do it. So it's just me, So I don't want to put any value like, yeah, people who do that. No, it's just different. But I love the process of, okay, what pieces do I have? And sometimes I use 3D printed parts, and I use soft goods that I find on other pieces, But I try and I strive to use as few pieces as possible that are not original Legion's parts in any way.
And so, I've announced it on my socials, and Emil has as well. But one of the projects that's been fun that we're working on together,
We are working on it together. Come on,
is a set of Chrono Trigger, all of the playable cast, including Magus, which is a figures that I've wanted basically my whole life, as long as that game's been out, so for the better part of 30 years. And there's really zero action figures. There is a few little statue type things that I don't know how one even gets those. And so we're working on a series, and kind of my mindset for that started when I picked up some of his Nintendo stuff last year. And so my mind got into video games, and it's been really fun and actually quite meaningful. And so to see, for instance, like Chrono's hair, there is nothing in Legions that is Chrono's hair as a piece of hair originally.
Yeah.
And so, what you did to create that, I thought was just incredibly creative.
Thank you. And that was a really crazy piece, like his hair was something that when I was, I have these. I printed, a lot of reference material, what I found on the Chrono, the characters. And it's like, first thing, almost like when I accepted this project, it was like the instant question was like, how do I do with Chrono's hair?
Yeah.
Because you can just find, something similar and put it there. But it's like, how do you make it feel Legions?
Yeah.
Because I wanted to feel Legions, even if, and in this case, they didn't take too much modification once the idea was there. But it took a while to get the idea.
And that's, I think a lot of our conversation today will be kind of exploring your mind and how you got to here as an adult and all that. I think that'll be interesting for a lot of people. But so for anyone interested, if you're coming to Legions Con or not, you can reach out to Emil's he's got his, I think you got your Instagram right there on the thing, but it's easy enough to find him. So are you actively still taking any commissions on stuff, or are you filled up for the year?
So the actually yesterday I got a commission that I said that I can't promise anything right now, because I'm sitting here during my vacation now and doing some really going through. I have boxes like this keyboard boxes with a name on it, what project there is, and then I have all the projects stacked. Now, I found that part. That would be perfect, And
Oh wow.
so I want to do more than the projects that I have, but I currently have about 20 commissions.
Wow.
That I'm working on right now. And then I have 10 more projects that I'm working on, but other ideas, but I put them aside now because I have to finish the commissions. But this is the first time I say no, or I didn't say no. I said I can't promise it, so I'll have to. I kind of a waiting list, and that
Sure.
felt so weird. But there was no there was full understanding. So my heart is already in that custom as well, even though I said no, because he's like named that tribute figure to make, and it's like the head starts to spin, and it's like working. It's like that would be fun, but no. But I would solve that with no. It's like,
yeah. That's I mean, that's I think some of the most talented artists, or whatever you want to call it, the most in-demand artists, they eventually they have to say no, or they have to create a waiting list, because you don't want to promise something that you can't deliver. You want to be ready to deliver it.
That is probably something that I, more than anything, I don't want anyone to think that I don't keep my promises. That is so. And of course, you're always nervous. Will that person like the result? I won't quit until I'm finished with till I'm really satisfied with the result. But it's still always that feeling like I can't redo it. Once it's finished, and it's like, when will you get that reaction? That's not good. But
yeah, I'm sure that's really got to be pressure. I have some friends that are various comic book artists and things like that, and one specifically that now has pretty regular work with the big publishing companies. So he gets contracts from Marvel and DC, and he stopped doing commissions entirely because he's like, the money now comes in from my regular sources of work, and I was always so stressed out that someone wouldn't like when they said, hey, my grandfather passed away, can you draw him as Spider-Man so that I always have this to remember? Like, this is a very special thing for someone, and he took it very seriously. He said, I just didn't want the pressure anymore once I was able to move away from that. And that, he said, I love doing commissions, but it was entirely I don't want to let this person down because they're believing in me and investing in me. And so I can see that.
I understand that. And in two things. First of all, I love doing these figures. People would, I do this because I love doing this. And I hope that it shows in the work that I do, because that is I love it. It's my number one where I go to enjoy myself, kind of like, and the relations I get with the people who commission things now, it is really like, I start talking to them. It's like, okay, what character and why? What is it that you like about this character that you want a tribute made to? And it's like, people have longer or shorter stories, but the interaction there I truly enjoy. And when you feel that, okay, this person and trust me with doing this by as good as I can, and that also makes you feel a little bit relieved, like, yeah, okay, I have the trust from this person, and there is no time pressure. Most of the commissions are actually like, we want them at Legion's Con.
Yeah,
I have some that are being shipped, that people that are not going to Legion's Con, but absolutely the majority are people like, I want to pick it up at Legion's Con. So that's also part of the community aspect, having fun, enjoying this.
I can't wait for the display of the things we've worked on this year to be at Legion's Con, for everyone to see them, and not to see them because they're my idea or because you did them, but just to see them and enjoy them. Like, you think about when we walk around Legion's Con, for those that haven't gone, the things you will see in that room are incredible. All the pieces of art that people have made, and I won't even begin to start naming people because you leave someone out, but every nook and cranny you look, and you're like, oh, look at that. There's this thing or there's that thing. And it just, the person may not even be at their table. You may not know who it was that made it, but you see this just incredible representation of something.
Exactly. And that is, I love that part, just walking around. And since I was exhibiting, I didn't have time to go around much. I stayed late when we were setting up things and walked around as much as I could. And the first morning, I went there early to try to walk around and see in the morning. But then, of course, not everyone was there. But it's like, I want to see us. There are so many crazy, weird, beautiful, and creative ways to enjoy this hobby of making custom figures and accessories and stuff. And I just love it. I love it.
Yeah. And so I think that's a good segue. So, if we think about you, and the only thing I know about you outside of Legions is that you have a very strong affinity for trap jaw and Masters of the Universe. Right, a very specific trap jaw. Only one, not the Filmation version, right? It's the standard version, the toy version.
Yeah, the black leg ones.
Black leg, yes. But so what? Did you collect as a child? And what's the difference? Or I don't know. You necessarily know the difference, but what is that like in Sweden? What's the availability of things? And how did you start? How did you become, at whatever age you are, sitting here in the nude, clearly, in your chair?
Wrong color of the shirt. Yeah.
as an adult, customizing action figure. How do you get there? Where did this all start?
Yeah, there are some steps. First of all, I did not collect toys as a kid. I played with toys. I played with action figures. I loved it. I had Masters, G.I. Joe, Transformers, Turtles. Actually, Turtles I think that it was the last year that I was actually actively playing with my toys. That was the year when Turtles got. So I got them.
Do you mind saying how old you are? I think you're a few years older than me, maybe.
I am 44. I'm 44.
Yeah, so I'm 42. Yeah, so Turtles would have been emerging as you were kind of entering teenage years, probably.
Yes, I remember I got the Turtles, and I still have my childhood Turtles. But I was playing with toys, and it was the best, And then I stopped playing. I guess everything's segmented in a way, what you are supposed to do and what you are not supposed to do, and somehow my toys got moved up to the attic, and I got more into sports. I think that was a part. I went more into sports. I was the worst at sports, but somehow something happened, and some sports just clicked for me, and then it's like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do now, and I fully did that for many years. And then I started collecting old Japanese toys.
Oh,
when I was 20, perhaps, something like that. From old my childhood anime series, and I bought toys from Japan, from a Japanese auction sites, and then I kept some for myself, and I sold some, and then I bought more stuff, and then I grow my collection. And my collection was actually in Swedish anime magazines, so it's like there were some classic pieces that I got a hold of, and then life happened, and things made me put the things to the side, and it was like the dark era, if we go to the toy collecting period. And after this dark era, I was like, I came out on the other side. Things had happened in my life. So I was basically like sitting there with my wife, and it was like, I think I want to start collecting toys. Because it was something that came, something positive that I felt like, remember that this is what I always done. At that time, I had sold my Japanese toys, and they're way too expensive to buy back, so I'm not even looking at that. But I started collecting toys, and I bought Masters of the Universe. That's where I started.
Is this like the classic Master Universe Classics time frame?
No, well, the vintage ones.
Oh, back the originals. Okay.
Yes. So this would have been 2016, 2017 sometime.
Okay.
Yeah, 2017 probably. So I bought Skeletor and He-Man and Battle Cat, and then it's like, oh, here we go. Here we go. That it hit me right where it should. And it's like, but at that time I didn't have any money to collect toys actually.
Mhm.
That wasn't the situation, and I couldn't put my family in the situation where I started buying toys.
Right.
At the time we don't have, so I had to start and buy small collections. I buy a small lot of toys, kept what I wanted, sold the other ones, made a profit, bought more toys that I wanted, kept it, and that's how my collection started to grow. And then, so in that way, um, I kept the toys as a separate thing in my life and let it. Okay, this has to, because that's the only option. This has to finance itself,
Sure.
because my toy interest or addiction or whatever you want to call it, that kept growing. And then I started collecting what I wanted. I got the Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow vintage GI Joes that I wanted as a kid, Scorponok Transformer, and it's like, it was a good time.
But all vintage at that time. All of it was vintage stuff.
All of them what was vintage, until, as you know, Trapjaw is my favorite guy. And actually one more guy, and that's the Stormtrooper from Star Wars. Just an ordinary storm. I have two collections, one with Stormtroopers / Sandtroopers, and one with Trapjaws. Those are my two things. That's when I see something online and like, I don't have that Stormtrooper. That's why I recently bought some of these.
Oh yes, yeah.
And it's like, these are okay. So
Yeah.
and so here we are. I was looking for Trapjaw online, just randomly Googling Trapjaw because I want what figure are there? And then I saw this character that was Trapjaw, but still wasn't Trapjaw. It was Chrono. And it's like, what is this? Mythic Legions? And that got me like, this is too cool. Well, I think I need to get some of this.
Yeah.
And so I found some collector in France that sold some skeletons and some Templars. And I was like, well, those skeletons look cool. I don't care for the Templars. They look, well, I don't need them. Got the skeletons home. Yeah, that's how it started. It didn't end like that. I got the skeletons home and opened them up. And it's like, I had fun with them, just posing them. And I put them in place like I did with all the other things that I bought. I looked at them, put them there. The thing that changed everything here was that I realized that, every now and then when I passed them, I was like opening it up and reposing it. And it's like, I'm a very analytic person. So I started to analyze myself. Why am I doing this with all of this? I had all of these figures, but the Mythic Legions figures are the ones that I keep.
Going
so
to.
Like, I needed Templars as well. So and he still had them. So it started with four skeletons and some Templars. That's how I got into modern toys.
Now, you reposted recently in Facebook like a memory, a Facebook memory that was maybe your first post of Mythic Legions. At sometime recently, and in that it said you were going to you thinking of carrying them in some sort of store. So when you were buying lots and then selling what you didn't want, keeping the rest, were you doing that through like a storefront or eBay storefront, or did you at one point have your own toy company, toy store?
Yes. I had a store that was called the Fantasy Store, but in Swedish, Fantasybutiken. So here I sold, collectible card games, miniature game figures, anime comics, and also I got anime and manga related stuff from China and Japan, and all of the things that I loved: dragon sculpts, chairs, swords, all of the things that I loved. But a thing happened with the one that I had the store with, that we had to go separate ways, and I was like, okay, I'll just leave it here. But since I did that, I was like, I instantly started a new company because I didn't know what I was gonna do, but I knew I was gonna make something. So I started by finishing my children's book that I was working on. Started that, and then when it jumped back to Mythic Legions, that was not far. That it was a couple of years later. Anyway, I wanted to buy them, so I was a retailer for Four Horsemen Studios.
Oh,
so
okay.
I signed up for that, and I ordered the Wastelands wave, the same way that Chrono was released in, because Chrono, when I found pictures of him, I couldn't order him. That's why I went and ordered the skeletons, because Chrono was just like, these are gonna go, these are up for pre-order now. I was like, what's that?
Oh, I see. Yep.
So I got a full set of retailer wears, the whole wave, Purple or Chrono and all of those figures. I ordered those, and while that happened, I started collecting Mythic Legions. Once the figures finally arrived to me, and the custom fees was added, and the taxes was added, and I was like looking at all these figures, like, how on earth are I'm gonna be able to sell these in Sweden? Sweden are pretty high taxes. Why would anyone buy these figures here? And I tried to sell them, but it was really like, everyone was like, "What's that?"
Yeah.
So it kind of faded away from that. But that's how I started. That was the initial plan.
So if you go back, so that's interesting, that it's harder to sell in Sweden. People don't know what it was. I think that's hard broadly, even here in the States. There's still a number of people that go, I don't know what that is. It's not recognizable. It's not Batman or whatever. I don't know what it is. But when you were a kid, did your friends also play with Thundercats, Master Universe, G.I. Joe? So that pretty successfully came to Sweden and was available at present.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What about, so did you, when you say you played with them as a kid, were you starting the world of customizing? Were you coloring them or putting marker on them or swapping a head or making, I want my Storm Shadow to look like this? Or were you doing those kinds of things?
I mean, Masters, you could swap the arms.
Yeah.
That's what you could do. I have my original Trapjaw somewhere. He does not have his original accessories. He has his, Man at Arms. No, darn, Many Faces. That's what arm he. It's not as exciting as the black one with exchangeable weapons, but no, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Maybe I put some clay on it to build some clay armor or something, but I never did any customization. No.
Were you artistic as a kid? Were you doing other forms of creative?
I was drawing a lot.
Drawing.
Yeah. Drawing. At that time, I tried sports and everything, but I was probably, my mother likes to make fun of me because there's that one, school when I was dressed up nice and I was posing on the backyard and I put my feet on our soccer ball. And she keeps looking at that. You see that soccer ball? It's clean white. It was never used. She keeps, because she's like, and I was like, I wasn't talented in a sports way as a kid at that time, but I like to draw and play with figures.
So it sounds like your experience is very similar to what a lot of us have had, where you play with your toys, however that's defined for you, and then something draws your interest away. Sometimes it's intentional, right? We choose to start playing sports, or sometimes it's parental pressure. I mean, some folks have parents that say, hey, that's for kids. You're not a kid anymore. We got to put that away. Sometimes it's girls, significant other, but we all seem to kind of say, okay, I'm going to leave that alone. Doesn't mean I don't necessarily like it, but because your parents kept up with your stuff, or your mom, has that stuff for you still, because you have a lot of.
My parents never got rid of anything. This is what I love playing with the most of everything, So but when I started collecting, I was like picking up my old boxes, and I really played with the toys. I did not take them up and just gonna put you over here and not touch you. I played with my toys, and we had a dog at that time, so a lot of my figure were like bitten by that toy, by that dog, and there's like, no, yeah, that so it's so I actually started to buy the better version, newer version of the figures, and then most of the old ones I sold as slots, like these are broken toys and stuff like that.
Yeah.
um of the masters figures, I don't have many of the original ones left. I have some that are original mine.
Trapjaw, the important one.
That's the most important one. It's crazy how something like that can just, yeah.
Well, I mean, we connect with these things, right? And that's, a lot of the reason I started doing these live streams and talking to interesting people is for a number of people, and I've encountered a lot of this over the years on YouTube. They don't have anybody in their life that supports them in this hobby. They are questioned about it, in some cases made fun of, or they feel like they have to hide it. I think that's probably less so post the Marvel universe and the Avengers, and that making kind of nerdy things a little more, but like I like to say on this thing, it wasn't 10 years ago that there was a movie out that was making fun of us taking our figures and putting them in Detolfs, and that was 40-Year-Old Virgin. He was putting Hot Toys in a Detolf. That's what he was doing. And that's now what we do all the time. And when that movie was coming out, most people maybe wouldn't talk about their what their action figure collection is. And so I like to make to talk to people and help people feel that you're not alone in this hobby. While some people may not understand it, like we all have been on a similar journey, and a lot of that is we connected with these things.
Yeah,
the kid, and so that trap jaw that's sitting above you, it's not that piece of plastic that holds some sort of mystical power. It is the connection to the memories, and for that character, for you, and then for me, it's Raphael of Ninja Turtles, like a true lifetime of memories. He is the best turtle. He's the best. Yeah, that's right. But so you mentioned a lot that you in your 20s then collecting anime things. Is that were there specific things in Sweden that you were getting access to that
no
different, or was it
no. These were not only sold in Japan and well, I think it was in Italy and Spain, and there were some other countries as well, but not in Sweden. So these I went. Like I said, it was the Japanese Yahoo site, and at this time there was some sites where you could as an English speaking person, you could use this service, pay them to then bid on Japanese auctions.
Oh,
and I remember there were so many. There were plush toys and die cast spaceships that I bought, and it's like so no one had them in Sweden at that time. I think.
Did you have connection to those already from childhood, or were you just experiencing that for the first time in your 20s when you were
No, so the anime,
like the anime stuff? Yeah, that stuff.
No, they were from my childhood, because there was a guy here in Sweden who I think he used to work for Panasonic, and while he was over there, he saw these anime versions. Thought these cartoons could work in Sweden, and so he brought them to Sweden, dubbed them, and released them in the 85 or something. So and that was the golden age for me. I was like 5, 6, 7 when these came, and it's like that was a brilliant move. And so I always had them close to my heart. And a couple of years later, I started, and I think it was when I was in high school. I actually did the toys during high school as well. I didn't have the black, but it was just transferred into the Japanese ones. So I had a fan site online.
Oh,
I called myself Warfist. That was my username, and I still own warfist.com, I think. And I did a website, a fan club for these anime series, and it wasn't big compared to big communities today, but it was big for the ones who knew it. So big actually that when me and my wife got married, and my wife is she's from a town that is a couple of hours away, and when she and I was walking down the aisle, one of her cousins, I heard this afterward, he was like poking his brother, like, that's Warfist. Is she marrying Warfist? That's one
Sure,
of the silly.
I went to warfist.com, Emil Wickman.
Oh yeah, I have it, but I had other things at the time.
Yeah. I thought it might be some of like an old GeoCities website with your MySpace profile on it.
Not this one. I changed it a couple years ago. But so the one who released this in Sweden, I got a connection with him after, and they invited me to their office 2 times. I was there, and they asked me how to connect with the community, and what I was there to tell them about the anime movies that they had released. So at the time when I was starting to collect toys, I had received the old roll, the original film tape that they got from Japan when they did the Masters in Sweden.
Wow.
And it was like, it was good. I had them there, but then I started collecting toys, and like I said, I needed money. So then I started to sell these, and a lot of people were like, "This is a piece of history," and I was like, "Yes," and I can buy my new Skeletor,
Yes.
So it's so yeah. During high school, I started to delve deep into anime stuff.
What is it? Any anime that we would recognize? And I mean, are we talking about like original Dragon Ball or?
No, this is, you don't know this one, I think, but I actually have a toy here because this year, they released action figure with their ships for one of these shows, and I'm like, really? I've been waiting my whole life for this. I'm 44, like I said, and they had toys in the late 70s, but this piece of action is.
Oh, I have no idea. I don't know what that is.
And in the US, this show was called the Space Geteers.
Oh,
that is not what it's called in Japan or anywhere else. This is a sci-fi version saga based on Journey to the West. So this is a sci-fi version of Monkey King. Basically, this character is a cyborg warrior. Okay.
Who released that toy? I mean, it was a regular. It wasn't a custom.
No. This was pretty expensive. There are 3 big main characters, and I bought the ships, and they are very precious to me.
That's cool. Well, I mean, that's
one of the shows, and then there were others. But then I moved on later on to Naruto and stuff like that. But this was Kenshin and Gundam. So of course I'm looking at doing a Gundam tribute. But it's a work in progress, and I have to put it aside. Stuff like that.
Yeah, I wanted Gundam. Gundam was an important part. No, I think that's certainly, Dragon Ball and anime has played an important part of my life and also in my family's life. And so we like and enjoy, and we go to a lot. I think one of the things that's different about us than a lot of, at least some of my friends that are on YouTube, is we go to the anime shows and we'll go to any show. Like, we appreciate all forms of this, and some of the most fun we have, actually, because my daughter will make her costumes that she makes by hand a lot of times, and we go and cosplay, and it's such a fun thing. And that's what I wonder. I think often about she's about to turn 16, and these days so much of what they consume or entertain with is digital. It's all digital. It's not a lot of physical. And she has, we've got figures here that are hers and statues and stuff, but still, so much of what she does, even the things she enjoys, the things she watches, are things like this on YouTube. They're not things that are going to generate pieces of nostalgia 30 years from now, right? They're not going to exist, so to speak, right? And so I wonder, what does this hobby look like as our kids, that still may want to participate in the hobby? Mm-hmm. What does it look like? And I don't know, but I do see, she still wants to make her own costumes and do these things. And, she's painted a little bit, some heads and some figures. And so it's just interesting to think about, like, we all have such a unique, tangible, I had this, I saw this, I experienced this, it was impactful to me. And now we can chase it and find it. And, I don't know what that's going to be like in 30 years.
Me neither. I think about it from time to time, because, Of course, there are collectors in the generations before us that create maybe cars, and there are toy collectors as well,
Well,
but
that's
not
G.I.
as
Joe. Yeah.
yeah. But it's like times will change, and then no one will collect the figures that we have, but we collect them for ourselves, right? So it's
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
it's
I don't, this is not a, like, it's, I think one of the lessons that you taught, early was when you wanted to get into collecting, you would intentionally buy lots and you could take what you wanted out of it and then sell the rest. And that was a way to generate money
yes,
to continue to do that, and so that's great. That's a lot of people's rules is try to let the hobby fund itself. You have to invest a little bit up front. You have to get something to start with. But if you can sell things to pay for other things, but I think most of us don't look at our collection room and go, well, if all else fails, this is worth $200,000. I'm going to retire, whatever. We don't think about it that way. We collect it because we like to collect it.
that's a scary way to do it, because one day, if it all drops in value,
Yeah.
well, okay, so you have a lot of plastic dolls,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but we love what we love, right?
Right. So how did we
Um,
get from collecting,
yeah, so
vintage, your anime stuff, your storefront, and then finding Legions, and then suddenly now where you are just a few years later, not that far later, if that was 2016, 17, you're experiencing Chronoff for the first time. By 2020, you're making full custom figures at that point. So that's a pretty quick jump. So how did that happen?
Well, first of all, I was like, I wonder if my interest in this will just, be for a couple of years. Maybe I'm that personality, like, okay, maybe I will get, but okay, we'll see how long it lasts. It still lasts. I love it still. And it's like, this is awesome. I still love this I wanted to make a Baron Volliger because I was looking at, that's a cool character. I want to make my own. No, I want him, but you can't get figures that are not, So it's like, what do I do? Well, okay, I can build one maybe, and then I started to. This was the perfect excuse maybe for me to get into sculpting, because I had seen that others like Seba Dom was sculpting pieces. I was like, what? Oh yeah, of course you can do that. So a friend of mine, he got himself an FDM printer, not a resin printer, but and he wanted to try. So I was like, okay, maybe now it's the good time for me. This is the excuse I've been waiting for to learn 3D sculpting.
Mhm.
So then I sculpted a vampire head. Not the same day that I started with a sculpt. Someone would make fun of that. Yeah, you did it right away. No, I did some tests, but then I made a vampire head, and then for the Baron, and then I made a orc head, and then I didn't sculpt for 6 months because that's what I wanted. I did it to get
Yeah.
these customs, and well, but then I wanted to continue with it, but I wasn't thinking on myself that I was doing custom figures, but I was. That was the start.
Yeah. So
But it was scary to repaint something that was you paid so much money for. It's like, I'm gonna put paint on this. I don't know what drove me into that, actually. I think I had multiple trap jaws, and then I made a vampire version of a trap jaw. That's my first figure, I think. That I
So it's
fully
not a
repainted.
necessity. You wanted the figure, and the figure was too expensive to get in the aftermarket, so you created it. You tried to create it.
It's something else. Yeah, it's the same character at least.
Yeah. And that we'll probably talk here the rest of the session in the world of customizing. I've tried and I've done some paint and done some things and some pop and swaps, and I'm not the most artistic person, so it's you have to put effort into it. Any of us do. But I recently bought some new soft goods for some Joy Toy Warhammer figures that I have, and they're gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous soft goods from Max Bird. But the flexible hard goods that are on these three toys are also beautiful and well done. But two of them, to remove it, you were basically going to have to remove it. It was not an easy off. I was going to have to slice it off, basically. And so does it permanently ruin the toy? Not necessarily. You could probably glue it back on. I tried to do it clean, but that was the first time I had allowed myself to go, okay, I am permanently changing this thing that I have spent money on that already looked really good, was, to do the way I want it to look. And it was hard. And I think that's one of the things that's held me back from trying further customs is, well, I paid $50 for this thing and I'm just going to hack it up. And that's, again, when we talk about your customs, one of the things I appreciate is, you have your commission rate, and included in that rate is basically your promise that you're going to make it the best way that you can. And, notoriously you opened up a headless horseman to take one tiny piece out of that to use for somebody, for whatever custom you were making. And that's $100+ item that you had to do.
Yeah, but that custom really needed that piece.
Right. So it's a mindset, I guess, once you get into that place where it's like, okay, I see this as the piece I need to complete this and do it the way I want to do it.
So I said no to all kind of selling my figures for a long time. I said no for a long time, and it was really like, if I sell something, what price can I take? And I don't want to sell them. I love making them, but the time it takes, and now I do the custom figures commission $400. That's the kind of the standard price I've used, and to many that's like, wow, that's a lot, and it is a lot. But if and so it's fine when people say no, but for me it kind of like hits that bar of, yeah, this would be all the time that I would put into it. It will, it's better to go down to McDonald's and stand there and watch if you want pay by the hour. So if you're going into, I'm gonna do, they're probably good customizers who know how to do business and charge better. But I, like I said before, and I love making these. And then it also goes down. So should I charge how expensive the pieces are? Maybe. I think Jeremy does so many, and that's also fine. That's also a good way to do it. But for me, it was like, well, what if I use cheaper pieces on some figure? Should I lower the price then? No, that's not what I'm charging for. I'm kind of, I think I'm charging for the creative vision. That I think is what I charge for more than anything else if I'm analyzing it. But and then it's more like, okay, then it's up to me. I'll open that $100-$200 figure. Yeah, there are some other pieces that are crazy expensive that I'm just like, anyway, because, and if people start to count, then it's like, wait a minute, okay, you sold it for that price, but you opened that box and this custom, you open 4 boxes. I have piles of bodies here where I've used that part and that part, and it's like, that's crazy. And that can only be, for me, as loving this, for me it's more like, okay, I can be as creative as I want, and it finances itself. That's like the minimum line. It finances the hobby, that I can have a surplus of figures that I can use parts from. So it's a wonderful creative feeling. But it's crazy, and it's stupid at the beginning. But I am also analyzing, okay, what is this collection worth? What are all of these figures worth? And it's like, well, I love this part, and I get to be a part of this community that loves all of these figures, and I can have fun with this aspect of the hobby, maybe more than any other aspects.
So as you think that the customizing has become your most, like, that is the way I think you circle back to what you said at the beginning. You played with your toys as a kid. You played with them. And I view customizing really as a modern type of play, as I do people that take photographs like Nate and Trevor do. That is the adult way of playing with your toys, where you're getting hands-on, you're doing stuff, and you're creating, no different than we created the story in our head. When suddenly Snake Eyes was going to fight Skeletor, we wrote a story in our head to make them fight each other, right? It's the same kind of thing that we're doing. So you think it's your favorite part of the hobby now is is the customs you work on.
Yes, I would absolutely say that. But that doesn't mean that I don't love the other aspects of the hobby, collecting and everything else. So it's just that this is the top thing of all the good things,
Yeah.
It's absolutely is.
So was the first time that you sold, I guess this was 2020, maybe, when you were showing, you started showing all the Avengers that you had did. And I think at that time, maybe you hadn't sold, or you had just started to sell, those Marvel tributes, or, it's, you've only been selling for 3 years, 3 or 4 of those years?
No. I sold my first customs at Legion's Con. I had sold a couple of customs before I started doing tribute figures. When I did everything I could to get the down payment for this house, I was like, I was selling everything that I could, toys, whatever, working extra. But besides those, but that were some. But if we go to the tribute figures, maybe that's where. But it was 2022 when I sold them.
Oh wow!
And then it's so 2021 I brought them. 2022 I brought them. I was not gonna sell anything. My wife even laughed at me before I've told you this, maybe, but she's like, "Are you bringing anything to sell?" No, I'm just gonna show this. And she was like, "Okay." And I was like, "Now I made some things that I'm gonna hand out. Are you selling them?" "No, I'm gonna give them to the ones who want them." And she was like, "Are you not bringing anything to sell?" Not out of greed, but out of like, are you?
What are you doing? Yeah, you're vending the show. Yeah.
Well, so I did some 2022. I brought painted heads, so I had some to sell, but all the figures were not for sale until I learned from Travis Bowles. He was like, "You don't have to sell, but you can ask them, what are you willing to pay?"
Yeah.
The year before, I had only asked one person that question, and that person said $35.
Oh.
And then I was like, "Whoa, I don't think I'm gonna ask this question again." But I did, and at one time then I sold my Batman custom, and then it just so happened that I actually sold the Avengers set to Trevor as well. So that's what I sold 2022. But at that time, I had spent 2 days telling everyone that the figures were not for sale. So I brought them back home because I was still not planning to sell them. But after that trip, I got a commission request, and I said no. But then I was like, just what would you be willing to pay for it?
Yeah.
And that person said a price, and I was like, well, we can set it lower. Set the price here. And he was like, well, I set up here. And it's like, no, this is fine. It's and then I got the confidence that this person trusted me to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And this was in kind of like late November, early December of 2022, and he didn't want to see it until Legion's Con 2023.
Yeah, I think I remember you revealing. You were so nervous to reveal it because it had been a year. I remember that.
And during that spring, I was like, I keep making figures because I love making the figures, and I would continue and make this, and I will bring this figure because they're crowded in the shelf. I put all the time to make these figures, then I crowd them in among the others, and it's like, if you understand me, it's like I'm gonna redo the shelves this vacation as well, but it's like it doesn't feel worthy. Like you spend time or money on a figure, and then it's like you just. And for me, that was the and finally I was like, I'm gonna bring them to Legion's Con, and I'm gonna bring them back, and then I'm gonna bring them to Legion's Con, and these are gonna get more and more paint rubs until I probably can't display them, if you're in the long run. And then I was like, okay, I might as well offer them for sale if anyone wants them. I was like, because I'm gonna continue to make more, and that's when I started selling, and then then it actually really started to happen things, because then it's like,
So just last year, then in 2023, was the first real time you
yes,
had all your figures for sale at least.
yes.
I didn't realize it was that. I had known that Trevor bought those, but I guess I didn't realize that it was so close to all the rest of it, everything else.
He asked 2021, and I said no, no, no. But because I didn't want, I wanted them on my shelf,
Yeah.
you know.
So do you make tributes for yourself that never get put up for sale? Never, I mean, you probably share them, but do you have things you make just for you?
I start to make them for me, and then I put them up, like I did the Trap Joe custom. That's
Yeah.
like this is something I want to do, you know. So at one time earlier this year, it was pretty much every other figure was a commission or something that I did. A commission,
Yeah.
something just out of random, not particular order. But then I got a request for someone who wanted to buy it, and I was like, he's gonna pick this up in November. I will have this figure in my on my shelf the whole year, so I can enjoy it here,
Yeah.
and then still sell it. So far, I don't think that there is any custom that. Oh, actually, there is. There are some really old ones. My oldest one, the vampire.
I like the original. Yeah.
Yes, and then there are something else, but other than that, I'm selling, and because this is what I enjoy the most, this creative area here,
Well, I can attest, so I've said this numerous times on this channel that whenever you're working with creative, unique art, commissioned art, something that's being created for you, I think it is in bad taste to negotiate, because you're trying to tell the artist what you think their time is worth, and that's just not, like, none of us would knowingly do that, right? Like, to say, oh, I believe your hour is only worth $4 instead of $5. Like, we wouldn't do that to a person intentionally, right? But that's one thing. If you're buying lots of stuff, right, then usually you're going to have a discourse back and forth. But over the years, I've commissioned pieces with Emil. I've commissioned traditional art on the wall, comic book art, all kinds of stuff. I never once, I've just said, what's the price? Okay, then then it's either yes or no. Like, I'm able to pay that, or I think it's worth that or not. But that's pretty straightforward. But when you commission a piece, you are paying for so much more than just the item at the end. So there have been people know I'm a big fan of yours. So there have been times that your work comes up for sale, like somebody falls on hard times, whatever. And so, like, I've had people reach out and say, hey, and we know you like stuff. Would you be interested in buying this? And it's like, of course I would want that. But what I am paying for is the whole experience, is the talking to you about it and seeing the teases and working through it. And because it's our vision combined being turned into a tangible thing. So it's so much more than just what is sitting on a shelf. It's all the associated memories with it. And that's I think about just the time you and I have talked about the Chrono Trigger stuff. Just that time alone, you're not paying yourself that much an hour working on this. Just that time alone.
And the thing is, you could if you want to be like, well, this is a salesperson and this is a buyer, you could just do it like that, and it's like, then I'm pretty bad seller, ain't I? If I spend, like you said, spend this much time. But the thing is, people can think that, and that's fine. I don't mind that, because it was so long. It took so long time for me to even say the price, and now I feel confident in, okay, this is the price, and I feel, some figures take so long time. I'm like, but for example, Chrono Trigger, that's a great example. We have, when we started talking about Chrono Trigger, of course I know about Kira Toriyama, and I know Squaresoft, and Nintendo, and I heard the name Chrono, and it's like, that's one of the games I should learn something about. Our discussion got me into. I watched hours where they go through, because at one time thought about playing the game, but it's more like, I'm not gonna do that. It's not gonna happen. When that hit me, it was like, okay. So then I watched the whole Chrono Trigger timeline. They explain on YouTube, sit hour, and it's like, this is happening, and now this is happening, and it's like, okay, this is one timeline, and this is another, and I'm like, there's one song. I'm not even sure if that's really from the game, but it's on YouTube Heroes. I'm not sure if that is in the game, but they've taken that song with all of many of the movie sequences from Chrono Trigger. That's one of the songs that I have on repeat at work when I'm like, oh, I just have to boost myself. I put that up, and it's like, I love the relation between these characters. So, and of course, that makes our discussion interesting as well, because I get interested in what you're talking about. And just like you're saying, as the buyer or the one who commissioned something, we have fun and we build a relationship here. I definitely see that our relationship has been, we spend a lot of time writing and talking, and it's like, I appreciate that a lot, and and if someone sneaks in and say, well, that's just because you're getting a commission, stop it right away, because we can talk about that without the commission. We can talk about any series without the commission. Just talk about this new wave of figures from Legions or whatever. I love that as well, So
yeah, you have Legions cast that you guys are twice a month. Are you every week? I don't remember. Twice a month, where you're just sitting around with the guys talking, about the most recent wave, or checklists, or S tiers, or all the normal fan stuff. Sharing your passion. Nobody has to pay a penny to do that. And if you're in Legions Con, Emil, doesn't seem to go to bed. He just sits out at the lobby or the pub or whatever.
We're gonna have fun. We're gonna have a lot of fun at Legions Con.
Yeah, so whenever we do a transaction, PayPal has to charge a international fee of $4.99. And every time he's like, no, take that out of the amount. And I'm like, well, no, it's not your fault. You just can owe me at Legions Con. So there's been a few $4.99s. We'll figure that out. And I'm going to bring some American candy for you as well to Legions Con.
Oh,
I got to eat the
American candy. That's sweet. You want some Swedish salt candy?
No. It's been an enjoyable time getting to know you. So last year, I think it was the Samus. No, was the Samus this year? No, this was this year. Something you made last year, or did you make Samus last year?
Last year, yeah.
Yeah. So you posted Samus, and anytime I would try to message him all about something, it would have already just sold, and I began to think he was messing with me. And so I messaged him, and I'm a big Metroid fan, and beautiful Samus figure. And it's been on, he's posted it like 17 seconds ago. It has not been up very long. I have all my alerts on and everything. And I say, I would like to buy this. And he sends me back, sorry, it's already sold. Winky face, kissy face.
Did I do that? No.
Winky face, kissy face. And so I look at that, and I'm like, huh. Well, I don't really know what that means. Maybe that's lost in Swedish emoji translation.
We always communicate like that.
That's why
it's already been sold.
I remember I showed it to you at Legions Con, and you showed me your keyboard. He's like, "It is not kissy face on my keyboard.
It wasn't it?
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, something else. Yes, but it came through as a winky face and a kissy face. I'm like, I guess he doesn't want me to buy anything from him. Fine.
And Samus, actually, that was a crazy one, because I posted a teaser photo.
Yeah, somebody bought it based on the blaster, right?
Yeah.
Or was that Sev? Wasn't it Sev that bought it?
7 I mean, I'm very okay with everyone saying who it was, but just out of respect, I haven't.
I know that's who it was. I know that's who it was, because he taunted me with it.
But because I don't want anyone to feel forced to be, that I.
Sure.
said anyone, but you have been clear about the Chrono Trigger figures. That's why I feel I can just say that now.
It's fun. It's it's been enjoyable because it's one of those properties that is relatively obscure, but then it also kind of isn't. Like, people remember it and go, oh yeah, this is when like Squaresoft and Toriyama, all these like mega creative people merged together as Voltron and created this iconic game. And so people remember it, but like so many things, because there's nothing else, it gets forgotten about, because there isn't figures on pegs and movies, and we're not on Chrono Trigger 11 or anything like that. It's kind of this just stuck in time. And I think part of that is just the challenge of licensing, of all the different people that contributed to that.
Probably
there's no one that probably unilaterally owns a license for it to make product. But so, the experience of working on that with you is so fun, because it's a thing I've always wanted. It's a game that has a special place to me. And now my, I don't know if you've seen, my older sister is starting to make soft goods and some of that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so she's who I played Chrono Trigger with. So like, I can see her commenting on your post, like you had a tease today that I believe is a tease for a Chrono Trigger item, I believe. And
when this is released,
it'll be revealed at that point.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I'll know what it is. You probably have it right there beside you too. I can tell.
Yes.
It's like, it's right.
Yes. It is.
Is it finished?
It's almost finished. It's not ready to show you, but
not quite ready.
You know which one it is, I assume.
I know which one it is. Yeah.
There is another one who have all parts ready. Just need I fixed that yesterday. All the parts are ready for the figure after that one, except for there's that small piece of customizing I need to do, merging two pieces. Other than that, all the pieces were original ones, and I feel that's a good one.
So you've made Chrono and Frog. Those are finished. Robo is near finished. So you entered the ladies, which will be interesting to see. And then Magus, I know, I'll be interested, because I know that there is a Legions piece that, if it releases in time, would be very helpful for Magus.
Yes, we need the Necronominus Wave to be released.
Yeah,
because we need that.
But I guess that's an accessory. You could have them nearly ready, except for that piece.
What?
No, I don't know.
Can we do it nearly ready? No, they have to ship the figures.
No. I mean, in your preparation phase, if you don't have his accessory yet, you could have, like, that could be a last minute if it gets there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's not going to stop you from working on the rest.
No.
And you are on multiple things at once, right? You're not just one figure until you're done. You've got all these projects going on at one time.
Yes, at different stages, all of them. A few of them are only here. Some of them are having boxes with pieces starting to pick together. Some only have a few pieces. Some have the full custom ready to be painted, or just waiting for a piece to be customized before painting. And I build them, and once I built the figure, have it ready, probably done some digital color testing, then I pick it all apart and start painting it.
So what is it, once you have all the pieces, then you enter the painting mode? And like, how do you prioritize, or that may not be the right word, but how do you decide what you're going to work on in a given time?
Honestly,
yeah,
it has been mainly inspiration. And that is one of the things that I feel so lucky, that everyone who has commissioned something, they're very okay with, let it take time, because I say, this is gonna take time. This is the price. It's gonna take time, because there is there's a figure standing here on the desk that has been almost ready, but it's not ready, and I know that it's not ready. And when I know what parts is wrong with it, then I'm gonna switch that part, and then it's ready. But I know it's not ready. When you have that feeling that it's not finished, and it's been standing here for a month. Most of the figures of the from Chrono Trigger, I have so many of the parts, and some of them have been switched so many times, and there are and I don't even know if you want me to tell you which this next one is.
Oh, you
I'm
can
not sure.
tell me. Yeah, you can tell me.
Okay, then we have of course, you know that the Robo is the one who is almost
Yes.
there, and
Yes.
the next piece, if will be this.
Oh, Moral. Yes. Yeah.
She is she's lovely.
Yeah.
She's lovely,
Yeah.
um, and I really like the parts there, and of course in the community, in the cabal, or on all other people who are putting up customs or uh, swapping parts. You
Hmm.
can be like scrolling through the cabal, just enjoying your day, and it's like, that's a brilliant part swap. Screenshot or
Yeah.
download. It's like, there it is. That is the piece to that puzzle. Wow, So it's and so whenever whenever someone asks me, "Are you okay if I copy that or do that?" and I'm like, "Go for it.
Yeah.
Enjoy the hobby to the fullest." We have to find what we enjoy in life, and this is not hurting anyone in any way. Just enjoy the hobby.
Yep.
That's why I keep saying to everyone.
So, in the world of copying, I think you've made this statement before. You want your customs to all be unique to themselves. Like you don't make the exact same one again. Like you might make a different version, a different iteration of Batman, or a different suit,
Yes,
or a different color scheme,
yes.
but you won't make the same one again. That's still true?
I think that is. I mean, of course, it's fun to do new things, but I also feel like someone is investing this much money into something. It's like, I want that person to feel that piece is unique, that it's. And we also have something when it comes to the artboard. I mean, these are not the Chrono Trigger characters; they're tributes to the characters. Of course, that's an important part, but it's also like, if I did 10 frog, then we're also stepping into some copyright things,
Yeah.
because you can make a piece of art that is inspired by something, but if you're doing multiple, like if
Yeah.
someone would do a 3D print of something and then you sell that part, it's like, can you really do Captain America like that? Is that okay? I want to avoid that part as well, you know
Yeah.
but
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 so in
of
that
course,
world, you do also do sculpting and create characters that are your own creations that you sell through Wolf King Customs. And
yes.
my buddy Kent would be angry at me if I didn't ask you about the God's Fire line of things. So how did that come about? Where you are kind of you are creating these characters in this world, and then making parts that work with Legion so that you can create these characters.
That actually started as soon as pretty soon when you know, we have 2019, I think I did those two, the vampire and the orc head sculpts. In 2020, I got back into sculpting, did some sculpts, reached out to Len LaGuardia. Long story short, I was going to start work with him because he had just been started to sell stuff through Wolf King Custom. That was, he had just released a few parts.
Mhm.
Um, And when I did that, we had released a couple of parts from me, and then Steve Bishardi talked to Len about this idea that he had about these warrior monks, and Len directed him to me, and we started chatting, and it was like, what if this story would work into this, and what if that would happen, and what if this would happen, and we just that is truly what you were talking about before. You're sitting, this character is playing with this one,
Yeah.
so we
Yeah.
were basically playing with the toys that we haven't made yet, but just in writing. Oh, so this character is like this. Couldn't it be cool if you also was like, and then we started to build a story around these made up characters using mainly parts from the Legion's lines, but just we add this head sculpt. or we do this to make it a unique character, and then we made up the bios and made a website it took a long time before we made a website, but put things up there, let people enjoy the story.
Do you, when you work on that, do you sculpt heads and weapons, but there's certain things that we're allowed to have 3D printed of, and certain things we're not within the confines of the Legion's rules. Do you know in your head, all right, I'm sculpting this head and it's going to be on this combination of a body, and that's how this character is represented? Or do you just focus on the things you're sculpting, and however a person chooses to use it is fine, but you don't necessarily have that in mind?
I would say that it varies. It varies, but I mean, when we're talking about doing the Templar knights, they were supposed to be knights. Then, of course, we were thinking about the Templar bodies as the base.
Yeah.
But then there are the barbarian, the wild warrior. I have an idea, but I mean, please, everyone, do what you want. This is, and that is part of it. It's like if Steven and I started to play with these toys by making up stories and creating these characters, it was, opening it up to others and realizing that someone else wanted to make this character and just letting them play. It's like we're playing together, bring your own toys to this world. And it's like, oh, I see him as having this. Oh, do it that way, So it's not, someone has said that, I think Kent, for example, and Curtis Ackerman has also talked about, there are not too many descriptions on the looks of how they are. You have this head sculpt and the bio, then you can use your creativity to create the character. So it's, and from what I hear, that's something that people appreciate.
It is. The way I kind of compare that is, there are people like yourself, I believe, like my daughter, who all they need is a way to write and something to write on, and they can create a picture. They can draw it from scratch. They have that ability. But then there are more people who do like versions of art, but they need the lines. They need a coloring book. They want to color it, but they would like to have some sort of guideline of what they're doing. And so it seems like a lot of folks really enjoy creating their version of these characters that you and Stephen Lynn have worked on, but it's their version because they have kind of a starting point. They have, this head and this sword or whatever. And I think I just find it fascinating, just the different ways that people explore this hobby, and how many different elements of that. Another thing that you participate in is the Von Burke. You sculpt there as well.
Yeah, we have a subscription service there at Von Burke Studios.
Yeah, and that's every quarter, I think, right? Every 3 months.
Every month.
It was every month.
There's a new sculpt every month.
Oh, so you're
every 3 months there's a season.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yeah, there are different seasons, but you have seasonal phobias that we have now.
Yes.
And that's really like what you're scared of. And then there are 3 months, and every month there's like necrophobia and technophobia, and I'm not going to really reveal the last one now, but and there's like, so the only thing is this theme, and I write a bio or I write a short story about the theme about this on the side of the box where these are coming, in which these are coming, and then we have the theme, and Brian and I are making one sculpt each. So you order this box and then you get the box home. So that's kind of like the surprise thing. And of course you have to trust me and Brian's idea for this, or otherwise you don't subscribe. But if you want to try it out, you order it and you get 2 heads sent home to you with a box. And there's a pro version where you get them painted by Brian as well.
Oh yeah. Yes. He did. And Brian had the fun Yule, the countdown to Christmas heads last year.
Yes, he did.
So you're sculpting how many heads? I mean, you've got to be sculpting from uniquely 20 heads a year or more at this pace between all your different projects. If you're doing one a month at least for the subscription.
There are way more.
Way more. Is there other places you sculpt for that I haven't listed?
No, I've been getting commission requests.
So you do take commissions on sculpting itself. I didn't
No, I've
think
not
so.
done that. I've not done
Like
that. But
I've asked you that, and you told me
no.
no, and it made me sad.
Yes, because
I said,
I've gotten a lot of requests, and it would be smarter to say yes to the sculpting request because it's way faster to sculpt the head than to make a custom figure. So that's one example. If you want to do it, the financial smart way would be to do the sculpting. But I enjoy working with Len. It's a good friend, and I mean, people can come with ideas, and then I can still sculpt them, but maybe release them through Len. I enjoy that. Maybe sometime in the future there will be commissions, but that is, I kept saying no to that and saying that there are a lot of other awesome sculptors around.
So
So
are you
it's
saying no to a commission sculpt that is one off, and then the file belongs to the person, but you would entertain sculpting that would be something that then goes through, like, is a commission with you and Lynn, and that Lynn continues to sell it, but the person just wants it. Like if I want my dog's head sculpted, and it's fine if Lynn sells it, and he wants to sell that dog head, I can at least get further in the conversation than I can the other way.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if Len knows this, but this is how I reason in my head. But I mean, making there are a lot of people who are good at doing this is the dog, this is a human, these are good sculpts. I think I'm more into creating something new, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I'm not good enough at sculpting, or maybe it's something in me that's I would like to try this or like to try that. But except for the fun box subscription that I do with Brian, it's I've decided to use the sculpts with Len. He's a wonderful person to just and he's a great friend. So it's that is one thing that could get tricky, when you mix up money and friendship.
Absolutely.
With a commission or when you're working with someone, it can be so tricky. With Len, we are having a lot of fun, and I trust him.
Yeah.
And when you come to a situation where you both you like someone this much and you trust him, and it's like I want to. How can I support Len? What can I do for him? He's doing so much for so many people.
Yes.
He cares. He cares about others, and he cares about his job and the creativity as well. But he means a lot to me.
Yeah, I mean, Lynn, hopefully Lynn watches this. He is, I will mention a thing that is not public information because it didn't turn out, but we have, as the time we're filming this, I have a meetup event coming up in a few days that I'm hosting. And one of the things that we were going to do, so my daughter is very artistic, and she's trying to kind of find her way into some of these things. And he was actually going to help sponsor her if she wanted to paint heads and have her own table at this event. And it just, the date fell, like right now, these days, she leaves at 8:30 in the morning. She gets home at 9:30 at night for team camp every day for 2 straight weeks. So it's just not it would have put, she's a kid, that's too much stress. I see how much a lot of you guys that are so creative start to get stressed, when you're trying to get your heads ready for a show, and it can be burdensome. So it ended up not working out, but he just wanted to help my daughter find an opportunity. And I just thought that was such a kind, generous act. And, so Len does so much. And I think, Emil, I think about the way you're talking about this. You like to put your creative vision into a relationship thing, a thing that is coupled together with whether a person that's commissioned you for a unique thing, whether with Len, whether with Brian, whether with Steve, whoever, on again, playing with the toy. You don't want to go sit and play with the toy by yourself behind the couch. You want to do it with someone. You want to do it together and share in that. And I think that's interesting it's just interesting to think about. You talk about, you find yourself more energized at creating something from scratch than necessarily trying to take something and make that. And you think about in the world of music, You got people that can write music, and that's a very different mind than a person who can hear music and just mimic it, play the thing from without notes. Both super talented, just
Yeah.
different ways they approach the art of music. And I think that's what's remarkable in this community is you see the end product of so many people is amazing, but their path to get to that product is all different from each other. However, their mind works and processes things.
You wanna go a little bit deep?
Sure. Yeah.
If we, for example, if I would have started doing these custom figures with a plan, maybe to maybe the plan was to do customs to make money.
Oh, there he is. Look, he heard. It's like you're going to make my head.
Oh, he's too cute. That would actually be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah,
But
he'd
it's
sell money. Rufus would sell money.
yeah. Let's say like this. We have recently now in the community. This is deep now. Okay, so we have Ralph, who passed away. I've had other friends in the community who have enjoyed the hobby and spent time talking to, like Justin Johnson, Robson Rocha. Justin Johnson and I, we talked almost every week, together with two other friends, Eddie and Will, and then he just, when I got home from Legion's Con, I don't even remember which year right now, 22, yeah, and I came home, got a phone call from Eddie, and he said, Justin is dead. I don't remember if that's the exact words he said, but we got there pretty fast, in the conversation. And it's like, so with that, I'm not bringing up this to scare someone. I don't want anyone to go around being afraid to die or anything. But a couple of years ago, I talked about this dark period that I had,
Yeah.
and it was actually I was pretty stuck in not in a relationship, but in a place in my life, with a group of people. And it's like, when I after that I really started to think like what life is worth and what is worth to strive for, and then it's like, do you only win in the end? It's like, is that when you measure what you've succeeded with or what you do? And it's like, I don't believe that. It
Right.
can't, and of course, this, I'm not saying anything new. I'm just bringing it
Yeah.
in my words, okay? And it's like, what if I can do, if you think of thought, okay, maybe if I will only live one more month, what would I do?
Yeah.
And if I can think that I would love to sit and do a custom figure, if that is one of the things that come up high on the list,
Yeah.
is it? But of course, I want to spend time with my wife and my kids. But just imagine, this is something that I love doing. And if I can do that now without being a millionaire, trust me, it would be nice to be a millionaire to get all the debts out and stuff like that. But if I can sit here and enjoy this now,
Yeah.
am I at the winning point then?
Yeah.
It's like, so I try to get the things out from my life that I mean, if someone would say, or are you gonna get a boat or something? And to me, it's like, that gives me anxiety. Like, that means a lot of work that, okay, I can't afford a boat, but how much work is that? And I mean, do I have to take care of it? Do I have to? I'm not gonna get a boat.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. And I want to, like our conversation now, like our community, like it's valuable. It's
Yeah.
gold. The conversation you and I have now, talking about these things makes us happy and this makes us happy. It's like, there are people who have all of these other life goal checks and are not happy.
That's
It's
right.
like, I want to strive to be happy.
That's right.
Yeah, I want to strive to be happy, and that is not by measuring my happiness with anyone else or what anyone else becomes happy. If someone becomes happy by they want to have a super nice car and they do everything they can to get that car, good for you.
Right.
Honestly, um, I'm very thankful for my wife and for my kids and to see them happy. And it's like, here I am right now, and the customization got me into actually getting paid for the customs, and that is a trust me, I'm very very happy about it. But it wasn't the starting goal. Now I'm like, maybe I can do something more. I've actually this year I did something. I I or this year I work one day less at my work. What do you call that? I work 4 days instead of 5.
Yeah.
And every Wednesday I'm home, sculpting, doing customs, doing the things that injects me with
Yeah.
happy thoughts.
Yeah.
And of course that makes me I get less money from my job, but it's like I am happier at work as well. And
Yeah.
uh, I'm very happy for this.
I think it's such a good series of thoughts in my mind. If we go back to when we're kids, when we played with our toys, a lot of times it may have been with your friends or whoever, but a lot of times it was by yourself. It was a thing you were, kind of sent to your room, go play with your toys, leave the adults away.
Yeah.
And we had fun. We created these worlds. And then there was an element of, some of us at least, where you wanted to have the new toy or the new video game because you felt like people at school, it might make you popular. You did it for a different reason than just pure happiness. You wanted recognition. You wanted popularity.
Yep.
You wanted whatever. And I think that's when we first start, we just all people, you first start to lose some of that happiness when you start to do a thing for others to notice it, for other people to notice it. And so you think about that, so much of us are into this hobby ultimately because of some nostalgia or some sense of connection, longing to be connected to something beyond just I go to work, I pay the bills, and then I do it again the next day, to find some sort of connection. And it's easy. And we one of the things we try to talk about is, how not let this hobby overwhelm you, which you can very easily do if you start doing that again. Oh, well, this person has this. I want this. I want, what's the big figure in our community right now is Otho, and a lot of people want an Otho, and you can have one if you'll pay $600, $700, $800. You can have one, and some people can pay $600 or $700, $800, and that's fine if they want to do it. Some people can't, and they choose to so that they can post it on social media, so that they think that may get them happiness by affirmation. And that is a thing you have to avoid. It's not easy to avoid either, because it's the double-edged sword of social media. The only reason that Emil and I know each other is because the internet existed, right? The only reason a lot of the things we do for happiness is because we found a way to be connected to things that are on the other side of the world somehow. But at the same time, it can cause you to chase that happiness, something that you think, and you find it the most by finding the community that you want to be a part of, that accepts you for who you are, not because of what you have, and you participate in it with them. And I think it's fascinating, hearing the way that your favorite part of the hobby is, I have these things that I've already paid for, and it's generating more money for me. And sometimes maybe that's a positive return on investment. A lot of times it probably isn't. But you have them and you put them on your shelf, and then they move on to someone else, and then you do it again the next time. And so you're actively participating. You're doing things other than just buying. And I think for a lot of people, if they were really honest with themselves, and for me, for portions of my life, I'm sure for you, for portions of your life, collecting really just meant buying. You were just buying it. Like, all right, I have this now. I have this vintage. I have this. And like you said, you just cram it on a shelf and you can't appreciate it because you're waiting for the next thing to come in and the next thing to come in. And I think we all get there. It's what happens in consumerism, and taking the time to appreciate what you have and appreciate the joy it brings you in the community each day. I grew up playing sports and was an athlete for a long time. We always use the phrase "win each day." If you only focus on winning the championship, winning the Euro League, well, only one team does that. But every team can win that day at practice. Every single team can say, I won today. I'm happy with what I did today. I'm happy with the outcome. And I just hearing you talk about that, how do I find the happiness? And in your case, how do I give up some of my income to make sure that my quality of life is better? That's a good lesson, and not everybody can do that. Not everybody can say, I'm just not going to come.
I did a lot of calculations before I did it, but it also was like, is this possible? Wait, compared to most, compared to a lot of people, I guess, I don't make that much money, as a salary, but we're pretty happy. The family, I haven't been able to, give me that iPhone, give me that. That's not what we have, but we have other things, and sometimes it happens, the good things as well. I'm just saying that try to not compare with others. I have a friend at work. He's he's always happy. I always see him smile, and he, both him and we have been through horrible things in our lives, and people can say, yeah, what horrible, you're always smiling, you're always happy. I mean, for example, we lost our first daughter many years ago, and it's extremely sad, but it's still like, okay, so bad things will continue and happen. And it can be that when something bad happens to you, that everything is bad. Anyway, that was a sidestep. What I wanted to tell him about him is that he is from Eritrea in Africa.
Okay.
In his country, you're not free. You're not allowed to do what you want. You're not allowed to apply for a job. You have the military, or you can have some academic studies if you're really good. Otherwise, it's the military. You don't have electricity every day. There are hours where no electricity now. We're saving it, except for the king. And he fled from that country, and he will never. There are relatives that he will never meet again. Wow. He has other relatives, brothers who have come to Europe, got into societies, working, doing what they can for everything to be as good as possible in their lives. His wife walked through the desert for a month. And I don't know what kind of desert it was, but desert, got one of those boats over the sea between Africa and Europe. Finally, after, reunited with him, and he's working as what is it called? He's cleaning at the school that I work.
Mm-hmm.
And every time it's like, I asked him once, you're always so happy. And I'm like, I'm free. I wake up and I'm free. And it's so, like you said, the consumerism that we're consuming, and it's a luxury thing, but sometimes often it takes the focus of the luxury of actually being alive.
Yeah.
And actually being free. And it's like, free maybe, it can be to just go outside, take off your shoes and feel your feet towards the grass, and we're sliding away way far away from toys here, but I'm comparing this to what it is to, if you remove everything, what you want in your life. Sitting here painting, like every Sunday when we have the customizing studio, I prioritize that time. If we're 2 people, if we're 15 people, it's like you can sit there quiet, but you're like among friends. And this is one of the things that internet has got, you know.
Yeah.
We have the luxury of actually having friends.
Yeah.
I hope in this community that we are part of, and I'm talking about the Mythic Legions collecting community, I hope that there isn't someone there who's sitting totally alone and don't. I want to encourage that person to reach out to anyone, just because you're not alone. There's and that feeling of not being alone, that's also a luxury, and I think it's a luxury that we should have.
Yeah, that's, the community aspect is so true. We at my work, at your work, at most people's work, you'll hear them say from time to time that, oh, at work we're a family, and in some cases you may work in a really good place and it may feel like that. Most of the time that's not true, right? Most of the time work is where we go because we need to go there in order to provide, fill in the blank, whatever we need for our life. That if suddenly you were a billionaire, probably not going to go to that particular job anymore. Like, I'm probably not going to, because it's a thing I kind of have to do. I'm not choosing to do it. And, even you go back to, at least in America here, it's a very normal thing that the people you go to high school with, most of them you lose touch with. You don't know, as an adult, you don't know them. And it's because, in my position is, it's because we didn't choose those people. We were made to be in the building with them. We were made to be in the room with them. As an adult in this hobby, you're very much choosing the people that you're hanging out with, and you're finding each other through one of the most obscure, nerdy things that you're into. That's where you're connecting at, like, some of your most core things you love to do. So your commonality is great. I have, like we talked at the beginning, I don't think I know a single person's political view that I am a action figure friends with. Not one. I don't care. It doesn't impact our relationship that is built on, hey, let's go see Deadpool, or let's get in the Legions, the painting group, or whatever. We don't focus on that, right? We focus on the things that make us happy, because ultimately, how much control do we really have over some of those other more challenging things? Certainly, if you're in a place where you can vote, you should vote, all that stuff. But truly, right, we can't go change that the interest rates are high, or that, we can't change that ourselves, but we can change the way we approach today, and and be with the things that make us happy. And that's, I was, in fact, going into Legions Con last year, there had been some personal stuff that had happened that was pretty sudden. In fact, as I was leaving, and I walked into Legions Con last year with a challenging personal circumstances. And while I knew a bunch of people from the internet, I had not met most of them, and that's weird for me, because being on YouTube and social media a lot, and we have so many shows in my part of the country, I see all these people all the time, but that's not the Legions community. The Legions community is way spread out all over the world in many cases. And so it was such a therapeutic time for me to spend time with literally folks from all over the globe that I had never met before, that the same happiness I got from interacting with someone like you on Instagram, also just the same way happens in person. And helped me refocus a little bit on, okay, you can't necessarily change this challenging thing that happened, and you will have to work on that one day, but you can also just enjoy this for what it is and the happiness that it brings. And you were a big part of that, as I've told you, helping me to stay happy. And I think that's I try to be that for people. I try to be a positive influence into, just approaching things, even as it's in the hobby itself. Sometimes figures released that aren't for you. It is. And it's, recently there's been a lot of negative stuff in our community because people didn't like this or people didn't like that. And everybody's entitled to their opinion. That's fine. But like, I'm not going to engage with that, because I want to be happy in what I do. And I think it's my hobby. It isn't my work. It is my hobby. And if something's infringing on that hobby and making it sad, I'm moving away from that part of it. I'm staying away.
Yeah. And a good thing you said about politics and everything like that, it's like if the discussion is to convince the other of something, then it's not interested. But I'm happy that, for example, Steven that I live with, many people know him from My Boy's Gonna Kill Me, and he's a crazy character.
You are sleeping with here in a couple months. You'll be sleeping with.
That is actually we're sharing. I'm sleeping with Tomas. We share the bed. But at Legion's Con, the thing that he, for example, is good at discussing. When you're just discussing, just to realize, to learn things, to understand things. And the politics situation, I've been beneficial, going to the US as a Swede. I'm not this or that, but I can ask just out of real curiosity. And I love those discussions. I can't do those discussions at work.
No,
because there are some who are very, very decided on one thing, and this other thing is the devil, whatever it is, So if someone says this, and then I say this, and someone says, "Well, anyone who says that is the devil," and it's like, and then you kind of realize that, okay, I have to decide that this friendship, it's on this level, that this is where we put our friendship. The deep discussions to learn about life and society is like, I'll take them with someone else, just because I enjoy hearing what people think and why they think it.
At work, are you talking about American politics? Is that an American politic? Or is that
Sweden?
Swedish?
In Sweden, we're talking Swedish politics.
Oh, it's like, surely you don't care that much about our politics.
We do, but some care more than others, and some have only, they don't even know what the politics are.
Yeah,
they just see the media, and then I'm like, so why do you think that? I'm just curious to, I want to understand.
Yeah,
that's other kind of discussions. Anyway, politics is one thing. That's just one thing, and like you said, it's easy to okay. So are we not going to be friends now because we think different here? No. I think in some aspects that will break up friendships. And I'm sad about that, and that's why if I'm not sure about who I talk to about this, I'd rather just I avoid that topic, so we can stay friends, and don't try to convince me into this or that.
What about trying to convince you into collecting G.I. Joe Classified, the whole line? I know you've bought some. You got some at Legion's Con last year, right?
I got one.
Just one.
Just one, but I made it. I played with Steve's G.I. Classified, and I bought one. I bought Dr. Mindbender from him.
Yes,
and I think it's so super cool.
You can cosplay as that, by the way. You could wear that to Legion. You could wear the with the suspenders. And
I always loved Dr. Mindbender. The classified figure is way cooler than the old one. I have the old one. When we were playing as a kids, he and one other character, me and my cousin, we played that these were from the elderly home. So we put them over here. And then some other character could be, I'm just going to go say hi to Gramps. And it's like, it's awesome. And it's like, let's go back and have war and with Cobra and everything. So
you had the retirement home in your toys.
That was weird. It was Mindbender and someone else. I don't remember who it was.
But you stayed away from getting any more classified?
I've tried to, and I'm still succeeding, but I'm still like, I know which ones I would like to start with, because I saw them. I would definitely want Serpentor. But I don't need his
chariot.
I don't need a chariot. Serpentor would be one, and then there is one version of Baroness that is so cool. And I managed not to.
So were you a G.I. Joe the movie fan then as a kid? Because you want Serpentor. Like, did you like G.I. Joe the movie?
I read about Serpentor in the comics.
Okay, so it's not from the movie then, yeah, because they've got Nemesis Immortal coming.
The movies I saw, I got the movie, but that's when I was older. You know, in Sweden, you don't even know what the names of the characters mean when you're a kid in Sweden because the names are English.
Yeah.
So we don't even pronounce them right as a kid.
So what is Serpentor?
Snake Eyes is, for example, Snake Eyes. What?
Is Serpentor just still Serpentor in Swedish? Or did he have a...
The names are the same, but it's like Snake Eyes. You don't even know the word snake.
Yeah.
How old do you become until you realize that means storm shadow? Oh! But Serpentor is cool, and I when I started collecting vintage Joes, I got a lot of them, but then I sold off. So many of the collections back here are I started big, and then it's like, nope, I'm done. And then I scaled back, and then it's like kept 10 or so.
So the only modern thing you buy is Legions or Trapjaw or Stormtrooper.
Okay, this is another line I've avoided. I've avoided it, but I got 3 of them, or 3 of them, and I know you.
They're wonderful. They're wonderful.
They are absolutely amazing.
They are amazing.
I used to actually play as the Grey Knights when I was playing the board game. This is so, yeah. I love the Grey Knight, especially the Grey Knight Terminators.
Yes,
they were demon hunters, and I actually used to have I had a really bad army, but I used 12 of these to symbolize the apostles when I was playing a long time ago. And I also got, I get some stuff that I like. This set.
Oh yes.
I've avoided Mezco as well. I think I've done a good job with that. But when I saw these on pre-order, I was like, I must have them. So I got, they were sold out everywhere. So I got a pre-order from a store in Australia.
Does Mezco ship to Sweden from their site?
I think so. I haven't ordered anything from their site.
You didn't order Casey Jones, the Comic-Con Casey Jones?
I only have the 4 turtles when it comes to the Mezcos. But when I look at the shelves, I have some nostalgia figures. I have these, I have that, and of course, well, you see the big Trapjaw over here, the Tweeter head Trapjaw.
Yeah,
it took 1 year for me to convince myself that I remember Steven. He was actually for a long time. He was like, "Can you even call yourself a Trapjaw guy if you don't get it?" And I was like, "I can." But then I sold some customs, and it was like, I really want this.
To me, you sold it to me. I remember this conversation happening.
And then I sent a message instantly to Nate Barch, like, I got this figure that you made. One of you.
Do you get the Mondo He-Man stuff?
Yes, Trapjaw.
Just Trapjaw. Just the one Trapjaw. They've put out several different versions of him, I think.
Only one Blacklegs.
Yeah. Trapjaw elitist over there. You're a Trapjaw elitist.
I love the trap. Still, I'm not hoarding it. So every figure is unique. It's not something that and that is coming back to the plastic things. When you realize that you don't need them to survive, that's not the focus of your life, then you can actually enjoy them as a big part of your life. That's what I'm thinking. I did the whole loop here, realizing what it's important. It's like, okay, so when people say that they're going into their 40s and they're like, oh, life is, it was so much better before, for me, I mean, except for your body is aching more and stuff like that, it's still, I think I'm more myself in many aspects than I was before. And it's like, did it actually take me this many years to reach this part of my life to be myself? And it's like, I don't want to be 18 again.
No,
I,
no, no.
I dread, it's like, whoo, I enjoy this part of life. I
Yeah,
wish people get this part of life very early. Just like, just be yourself
yeah.
while not trespassing on anyone else's life. It's like, and
Enjoy it. I think that's great advice, and that's you know I don't want to be 18 either. And I think for a long time you go, is this who I am? Is this who I am? And then you get to finally go, yeah, this is who I am, and I'm happy being
yeah,
this. And I'm going to find the people that accept me for that, and that's who I want to spend my time with. Because, like you said, it's life's too short. You never know. Even not if it's something tragic, but you never know when just you won't have time anymore because something changes, or your disposable income will go to zero because of whatever may occur.
whatever. Yeah.
Whatever that may happen. And I think it's important, like you said, to be happy, to enjoy. That's going to be packages being delivered, probably toys on the
Wow.
door. Rufus is going to go get it. So I think that's such a good point to remember, to don't just find who you are and be that person. And this hobby, I mean, if you're watching this, we're almost at 2 hours. We went way longer than I anticipated.
Sorry.
No, I think it's great. If you're still watching this at 2 hours, you probably know that about yourself, that this is who you are. This is the kind of things you're into. And join our community. Again, the Legions cast, all the different ways you communicate. I have actually never done the customizing studio. Every Sunday, I'm like, all right, this will be the Sunday, but I don't prioritize it. And hearing you say that, I need to do it because Kent told me he just started joining those, and next thing you knew, he was done with like 8 customs because he's just sitting there hanging out, prioritizing. And I don't know if you saw him. I did some spring cleaning recently, and I posted in the Cabal my whole living room full of figures that were in the garage. Did you see that?
I've not seen that. No, I've not seen it.
Oh, it was like, I don't know, like 100 and some. Yeah, that were in the garage. But were bought 1 or 2 at a time, because I'm blessed to get to see the horsemen at tables quite a bit. It shows like, oh yeah, this will work, or maybe I want to customize this. And that I have the whole collection on display. That's none of those. I'm like, oh man, 2 at a time. I've got 100 figures that I said I'm going to customize. I've got like 50 3D printed heads that haven't. I'm like, some point I got to do this, or stop saying I'm going to do this.
But not the pressure, not because someone else is like doing. Maybe you don't like customizing. Maybe maybe you won't appreciate it. Maybe you will, but maybe so it's not a pressure that way either. I have to do some spring cleaning. I realize because I've been buying things for to be able to have parts when you make customs.
Yeah.
To make all of this just loop around the financing itself, and it's like, I think I bought some of them too many. It's like, well, that's a luxury problem to experience, but it's still like, I can't have them there. Because there's a new wave. I'm not making as many customs as I'm buying figures to make customs. And it's like, I need to do a spring cleaning for sure. Oh, it will take time, but I'll probably ship within. I hear you.
Well, I appreciate you coming on and getting a chance. I know it's getting late for you. Is there so I like my guests to leave, what's a piece of advice for a person who is, in this hobby, whether they're getting started, whether they're into it, what's a good rule or a mindset that you try to, that you've shared a lot of that we can leave folks with. What's the number one thing that you think is important to keep this hobby fun, not get overwhelming, keeping your budget in check, all that stuff?
Yeah. What makes you happy?
Yeah.
I think that's a good question, because ask that, and honestly, don't go with I'm gonna buy all-ins. Don't do that. If you have to afford this. This is still a hobby.
Yeah.
It's the best hobby in the world, but it's still a hobby. So with that said, what makes you happy?
Yeah. Answer that for yourself and align with that. Well, Emil, I'm looking forward to seeing you in a couple months. Just a few months away. I'm looking forward to seeing your customs. Will you have things for sale at Legion's Con, or will it all already be sold this year? Or will you have?
We shall see. I'm posting the things that everything that I post. I write if it's a commission, and if it's not a commission, I just don't write that it's a commission.
Yeah.
And if people reach out and ask, they can reserve the figures. But I don't know. I will definitely make sure that I have some head sculpts prepared, and I hope to have some pieces that are not sold beforehand. But it's if someone wants to reserve it, I'm not gonna say no.
Yeah. So if you get an opportunity, or if you have a special something, I would highly recommend working with Emil on a commission when the availability opens up. You'll be an experience you'll cherish, and you'll have so much more than just a finished thing that you put on a shelf. Like, it'll be a whole memory. And so thank you for joining us. Thank you for the joy and the positivity, and just the tangible, all the sculpting, all the things you do. You're on a lot of podcasts, and you contribute to this community in so many ways. But I think most of all, it's your spirit and your happiness. And I just think it's cool that we're across the globe from each other, but we're sitting in the sandbox playing with the same toy like we were next door neighbors. That's wonderful. All right. Well, we'll see everybody next week in some capacity. Catch Emil on Legion's Cast and on Instagram. And until next time, friends, we'll talk soon. How do I make this thing stop, Emil? Give us a little dance real quick while I hit recording. No, do the yeah, there it is. There it is. Talk to y'all next time.
Up in the right corner. Up in the right corner. Up in the right corner.